Hi, Instagram. I'm Katie Switowski, WLRN's Broward County reporter, and I just want to say welcome to our very first WLRN's Election Connection. Our whole goal tonight is to help you navigate your ballot. I don't know if you're one of the voters in South Florida or Florida that's already gotten your ballot in the mail. If you've requested one, I'm lucky enough to be one of more than 508,000 voters in Broward County that's already got their vote by mail ballot in the mail. So they started to go out last week, and you should be getting yours soon if you've requested one. So tonight we're gonna look at a couple of things. There's a lot more on your ballot than just the presidential election. And so we're gonna walk you through it, show you where the state constitutional amendment questions are, show you where your county's questions are, and sort of talk about how it's laid out for you so that you can look and see, wait, maybe I should look at that. Maybe I should investigate this a little bit more. And so I am super excited to bring on board, let me bring him on board here, Andrew Martineau. He is one of the brains behind Choose954, which is a cultural organization in Broward County. Oh, is he there? Andrew?
I think so. Oh, here we go. Oh, here we go.
Hi.
Hey, how's it going?
Nice to have you. I was just giving your introduction. So
Awesome. Thank you.
yes, so you are one of the brains behind Choose954, which is a cultural organization in Broward County that puts on a lot of things you've probably heard of. Art Fair on the Water, Art Fort Lauderdale. You guys started Zero Empty Spaces, which is a really cool initiative that fills empty storefronts that have been sitting empty for a while with artist co-ops. And so there's a lot of things you've been a part of in this county that people may not realize are all connected. But I want to talk to you a little bit because I thought this would be really fun to go over ballot design with you because you have a background in graphic design, you have a lot of experience in the ad world, and you work with artists every day. So I want to see the ballot through your artist eyes.
Sure.
But even before we get there, you have been working on a really cool, nonpartisan civic engagement opportunity where art and tech meets get out the vote. So what is Redirect 2020?
Oh, so Redirect 2020 is a really interesting project that I kind of came about, funny enough, through the son-in-law of an artist that's in one of our Zero Empty Spaces locations. He's an award-winning creative director that just relocated from LA to Jupiter. And, we just kind of had an introduction. She, was involved in advertising. We connected. He just kind of wanted to get the lay of the land. After getting into a little bit of the conversation, towards the end, he said, hey, I want to ask you a question. I have this really cool project that I want to launch. And he kind of, described Redirect 2020 to me. So, what happened was he really wanted to be able to get involved in elections this year. And he bought the website Redirect 2020. And he didn't really know exactly what he was going to do with the site at the time. He just bought it. He realized somebody else had a website with the same name, but with 2020 spelled out. He reached out to that particular person, and they both didn't really have anything that they wanted to do with the site. They just knew that they wanted to be active and just kind of had it as a placeholder, or they just parked the site until they figured out what they wanted to do. Then they kind of came up with the idea, well, how about if we redirect this website URL to vote.org? And when you started thinking about how many parked domains they had, how many parked domains I have, that I've actually not really done anything with us yet, we thought it'd be a really great idea to do.
That's for anybody that's got a URL that they're not using, like something from GoDaddy.
Correct.
If you are registering domains. And the whole goal of the initiative is to get people to redirect all of those unused domains to vote.org.
Correct. And, so the goal is hopefully we can get 1 million more people. I was just saying I probably have about 20 URLs that I just have parked that I haven't used yet. And what a great way to do this kind of civic engagement by having people redirect their park domains to vote.org and get people to register.
It seems like the perfect marriage of just common sense, cool thought. We're not using this thing. Maybe we can push it towards voter registration. So if somebody Googles whatever a domain name you're using, it can redirect them to register to vote, which is a really exciting thing when you're looking at ballots are in the mail. Ballots are getting to people. And in more numbers than ever before because of the pandemic, it's going to be vote by mail. And so here tonight, so we've got more than 508,000 people in Broward County registered to receive vote by mail. Mine came in the mail. Oh, hey, we're twinning.
Mine did as well.
We've already got our ballots. And so I'm going to flip my camera around, and I thought it would be really fun if we could just walk through it and show people kind of what they're in for. So let's see. Lifting here, let's see. Okay, so, and hopefully my shadow won't be in the way, but when it comes in the mail, you get it in this fancy little envelope that you get to flip, and it's a little safety envelope. It's got a lot of instructions that you should read. Definitely encourage people to read those, but then you get your actual ballot, right? And you and I are both Fort Lauderdale voters, so ours are 2 pages, front and back. So definitely check the back of any ballot page you've got. And I'm just going to flip it open here. We're not going to talk about every race, but I do want to talk about some key parts of your ballot and some key races. So up here we have our instructions, right? Ballot style 78. It says little vote by mail up here. This is the right election. And you have it in Spanish, English, and Creole. So you're going to see everything on your ballot in all 3 languages. First, of course, probably the most eye-catching, would you agree, is the one for president?
Yes.
That like sticks out. It's right there. It's the first thing you see under the instructions. And then you've got... Oh, no, you go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I think it's great. I mean, that's the first thing you see. You know, I think obviously, you know, the ballot instructions up top, which, you know, refer to, you know, filling the oval and all that kind of stuff. Certainly a very, very important thing as people go through and fill out the ballot, you know, making sure that they do fill it out correctly, and that if they do make a mistake, they ask for a new ballot instead of trying to fix it. So that's a really, really key thing, because, you know, some of the mistakes you might make, even though you may feel that you corrected it, won't be valid ballots. So best just asking somebody that's in there for a new ballot if you do make a mistake.
And I think one of the things that people don't expect maybe when you get your ballot is how many people are running for president. So it's not just Joe Biden and Donald Trump. You have Joe Jorgensen, Rocky De La Fuente, Gloria La Riva, Howie Hawkins, Don Blankenship, and then all the write-ins. So in some states, you're going to see Kanye West.
Right. That's right. That's right.
And I noticed, okay, so moving down, we have all of these races that are really short in boxes in one column here. So this is going to be your county commission if you're in Broward County, your supervisor of elections, sheriff was a crazy race leading up to the primary. And then you've got public defender, state attorney, and those are pretty straightforward. Then you come up here, and I guess you're supposed to go to column 2, and then we get into the judges here. So a lot of people don't research their judges, but if you were going to go to the trouble to research and vote for your public defender and your state attorney, the judges, they complete the criminal justice package.
Absolutely.
And if you come up here, this is what I wanted to ask you about, because, you know, you and I are Fort Lauderdale voters. There are 22 local governments in Broward County, cities and towns that have their own questions on the ballot. So this is where Fort Lauderdale's go in the 3rd column on your first page. So we only have our mayor and our city commissioner for District 2. But if you are in Wilton Manors, if you are in a whole host of cities across the county, you're going to see a lot of your local stuff go right here.
Right, and although we're both in Broward and we're both in Fort Lauderdale, obviously yours has your county commissioner that is essentially up for election, re-election. But in my location, my county commissioner ran unopposed, so his selection isn't here.
Oh,
So
there
it's
you
something to
go.
note. It's not something that's being missed, but he ran unopposed, so he's not actually in the ballot.
And one thing I want to say too, if you're just joining us, I'm talking with Andrew Martineau from Choose954, Zero Empty Spaces, a whole host of cultural and community arts and programs and initiatives around Broward County. And we're going through helping you navigate your ballot. And I think a big part of that is we want to hear your questions. So if you've got your ballot already and you're looking at it going, wait, what does this mean? Or if you haven't received it in the mail yet and you have a question, let us know. That's what we're here for tonight, to help you navigate all of this. And so I want to help looking back at the instructions here, Andrew. You had mentioned to me that you thought it was a little like bad ballot design to have the instructions right at the top. Tell me what you thought.
Yeah, no, I thought it was good that was at the top, but I think there's an opportunity to essentially have more of a illustrative sort of set of instructions for those that may not necessarily read through the entire thing or may have issues reading there, to be able to have an illustrated version of the instructions so somebody could see somebody with a hand essentially filling out a circle. I think that would be really helpful as people kind of go through all of this, to be able to really show them the proper way from a visual standpoint, as opposed to just via the text.
I love that idea. What would that look like if you could picture the perfect, easy to understand illustration?
I think if you just had the one circle that was clear and another circle that was being filled with a pencil or the pen that you're essentially filling out with, and there's a hand filling out a circle, and just had the instructions underneath that, I think that would be pretty helpful in terms of just people visually being able to understand what was being written, and just kind of like convert what you're seeing in text to a visual point.
And one thing I noticed, I mean, it's a problem in every election, but it was a really big problem that I got to see up close during the 2018 recounts in Broward County, was a lot of people got their ballots thrown out for marking in purple marker, or putting a check through the little oval, or putting, an X or a check, or circling everything instead of just filling in the little bubble. So it really is so important to take that few minutes and read through the instructions at the top. I think that's a huge thing that would help people understand this process easier, and it would make it less likely that your ballot would get thrown out. And I love, here, let me flip
Absolutely.
it. One
I
of the
think
cool
another,
things.
I think another, go ahead.
Oh, no, you go ahead.
No, I think another great thing too is for people to essentially go look at a sample ballot, in their local elections, whether it's Broward, what is it, Broward OEE?
Broward SOE.
Yeah, Broward, SOE.org, and look for a sample ballot so you can see kind of what it looks like, and you can also see the people that are running for election. So you can do a little bit of pre-planning in terms of who you're going to vote for, because I know a lot of the times, even with myself, even being interested and being involved, some people that are running, you don't really know essentially what their policies are and stuff like that. So it's a great way to kind of like do a little bit of research in advance. So when you do get into the voting booth, if you decide to vote that way, that you're a little bit more educated on what that person stands for, and kind of what you're actually voting for.
Absolutely. And what I'm doing on my screen is just showing you how to get to this is the generic sample ballot. And down here is a list of all of the cities in Broward County that are having their own municipal elections added on. So Coconut Creek, Cooper City, Coral Springs. I mean, the list goes on and on. Lauderhill, Margate, Pompano Beach, Weston. These are a lot of areas with a lot of voters who are going to have to consider their own hyper-local questions. But if we move on to, there's a big blank space here on the front page of my ballot.
Yes.
That could have housed a lot more questions, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think a big part of that is that they wanted to make sure that you didn't start on one page and then because of the length of the question, it didn't continue to the next page. So because like, I think in past elections, the ballot had part of the questions or the options on one page and the other part on the other, and people completely missed it. So I think the idea was they wanted to make sure whatever they put there or whatever the information all fit on one page. Because, as you see, like we have, when you look on to page 2, every question is in 3 languages.
Yep.
So, they do take up quite a bit of space. And, so I think they really wanted to make sure that they were able to kind of give each question its own space to be able to, for everybody to be able to digest it and then answer.
Well, and this comes in handy. So if you flip over to page 2, you're going to see the first 3 of 6. There's 6 in total.
Mm-hmm.
State of Florida constitutional amendments. So this one's a question about citizenship requirement to vote. The second one is about raising Florida's minimum wage. The third is about voters being able to vote regardless of party, sort of opening up primaries for a state legislature, governor, and cabinet, which would be a big difference for Florida voters if that were to pass.
Yep.
Then they continue over here on page 3. And one thing I thought was interesting, so this one, Amendment 4, would require citizen ballot initiatives to pass twice instead of once. So it would add an extra election there if you were going to pass a citizen ballot initiative like medical marijuana.
Right. Huh.
And
That's
then
interesting.
I notice 5 and 6 for the state are suddenly in one column here. So don't miss the 6th one underneath the 5th one for sure. So these are about homestead property tax, which can seem tricky, but definitely don't be afraid to Google some voter resources on that if you want to understand more about homestead taxes. And then, Andrew, we get into Broward County specific. So if you live in Broward County, we have 2 ballot questions. This first one here clarifies, let me zoom in so you can see the English version here, and I'll scroll for the Spanish. But this clarifies, whether or not Broward County can continue to be in charge of their own finances. And then there's one more, so don't forget, on the very last page, page 4, if you flip one more time, there's one question left. And that is about the regulation of surtax funds and giving the county the authority to sort of supersede over a municipal ordinance with surtax funds for transportation. And I know the City Managers Association of City Managers in Broward County doesn't love that, is not happy about the idea that the county can sort of supersede their zoning. And then it all folds together like this whenever you're done. And you're going to put it back. If you're voting by mail or dropping it off at a drop box, you're going to put it back in this little safety folder. And don't forget. So I know it can seem scary to put all this info on the back of an envelope. But if you want to add your email address or a phone number, that's how somebody's going to contact you if there's a problem with your ballot, which, is really adding just extra peace of mind. And then you got to, once you seal it, you have to sign your envelope. And if you forget to do that, that's a big problem. That gets your vote thrown out, or they have to contact you. And another part of that is, and this was a big thing in 2018, I remember, signature matching. In Florida, the signature, how you sign on your ballot has to match sort of your signature on your driver's license, the signature that the county has on file for you, which I don't remember how I've signed on my driver's license. I pull it out. And yeah. I
know. And that's a really interesting thing. I mean, I guess, depending on the day, because, you like really sign really quickly, and sometimes as much as it looks the same, maybe 90% of the time, you might forget to add a dot or some part of it. So it's definitely something to pay attention to for sure.
And I wonder, so one huge thing that happened in 2018, of course, with bad ballot design was there was a ton of undervotes in the race for the U.S. Senate between Bill Nelson and Rick Scott, and an undervote is where like a voter fills out their entire ballot, but they don't vote for one race. But it was because people didn't see it placed underneath the instructions. And I just wonder if we're thinking with an artist's eye for a second, what is your perfect ballot look like?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, I think, well, first of all, because it's all in black and white, you really limit your opportunities to use color as a way to highlight having to select a question. Now, I mean, that's not to say that they couldn't make certain parts and make it like a two-color ballot. It'd be a little bit more expensive, but it may help. It may help with directing someone's eye to that part that they do need to fill out. So that might be something to consider at some point. Is maybe having another color, like a red color, that they overlay on top of the black and white to help that particular situation.
Well, we got a question that came in that says, what if I request a mail-in ballot, but it never arrives? And so our advice for that is definitely contact your supervisor of elections office. You have until October 24th to decide, hey, I think I want to request a vote by mail ballot. Like, that's your deadline. So it's just under a month away if you do want to request one. If you request it and you're not getting it by the beginning of October, then you need to contact your supervisor of elections office. And there is an easy way to track your ballots. If you are dropping it off, if you are mailing it back, you just need your first name, last name, and date of birth. So then you can log on, whether it's Miami-Dade County, Monroe County, Palm Beach County, Broward County, anywhere in the state of Florida, you can log in and see when they send you your ballot, when you're supposed to have received your ballot, when they mark it as delivered. Then when you send it back, you're going to see a third little bubble that's filled in when they receive it. And then the last step is when it's counted. So that's one way to check.
And I would say I voted mail-in for the primaries as well. And my primary mail-in ballot came really quick in a couple of days. Wow. My general election mail-in ballot probably took about a week and a half to 2 weeks. So I had to do the same thing that you suggested. I had to call and kind of like find out where things were at. And I know my wife kind of, she sent her ballot out or ballot request out at the same time. And she got hers probably about another week after mine.
Oh, wow.
So definitely, follow up with that ballot delivery because, there does seem to be a little bit of a slow process for the general election mail-in ballots.
And I mean, more than double the amount of people have requested vote by mail ballots in Broward County because of the coronavirus pandemic. So if people are feeling nervous that their vote isn't going to count, it is, but it's going to help if you as a voter turn it in as soon as possible. Vote as soon as you can, drop it off as soon as you can, or go to early voting as soon as you can. There's a lot of safety protocols if you want to vote in person, early voting, or at the polls. And there's 115 ballot styles for the November 2020 general election. And that's just based off of all of the different local elections that people add on to it. There's ballot styles. It's not just one. I'm ballot style 78. I don't know if you could check.
Right.
Yeah, it's
cool.
I'm
82.
It's a whole science behind ballot design. And so the supervisor of elections, the county, everyone is encouraging. If you're nervous or you're feeling like, hey, I want to make sure this is done right, turn it in as early as possible.
Yep.
Yeah. So what's one
and the deadline is October 6th, right?
To register,
right?
For 5th.
Yes.
So
October 5th. Yes.
From today, if you're not registered to vote, you have just less than a week now to do it by Monday this time. And that is like your key ticket. And that's where Redirect 2020 comes in. to choose
Correct.
there.
Try and get a, and of course, like each different state has different times. So Florida, I mean, our window for doing that is really really small, but other cities and states have different dates for voter registration. But that's like the first step before you get into even any of these other things. So definitely, you definitely register to vote as soon as possible, and encourage as many people to do it as well.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, Andrew. You are so great at talking through this with me. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for inviting me.
And tune in next week, because the next installment of WLRN's Election Connection is going to be next Tuesday with our WLRN digital editor, Lance Dixon, and he's going to talk you through what is a healthy news and media diet, how can you get one, where can you look to trust information, and it's going to be a really, really cool Instagram Live.
Oh, that's great.
And in a week. Thank you for watching our very first.
Exciting.
And
awesome.
To vote.
Yes. Thanks again.
Bye.
Have a good one. Ciao.
Stay safe.